Today, I will be modding this GBA SP AGS-001 with a brand new IPS version 2 display. It comes with a pre-cut shell, which will make my job a lot easier. I start by removing the screws from the bottom of the console. Opening the battery compartment and taking out the battery. I see it's almost a bit bloated. I'll take note of this for later, but I won't do anything with it today. Opening the console and having a look inside. It looks okay, just a bit of dirt here and there, as expected. I remove the 3 screws holding the motherboard in place and carefully lift it up. I'm taking special care about the ribbon cable connecting the motherboard to the screen above. Even though I will be replacing the screen today, I'll take care of the old one in case I need it someday. I undo the latches, which allows the cable to pop out. The motherboard will be the only thing that is kept in the new version, so I'll put that to the side. I was very happy to see how clean the speaker was, even after so many years. These can be quite dirty, and they're easily cleaned with just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Under the buttons there were quite a bit of grime. Removing this sneaky little screw under the ribbon cable allows this little latch to come off. Opening the screen, it's time to take off the covers, which are hiding the screws holding the top half together. I had a lot of trouble at this part. The glue had probably deteriorated over the years, and even when removed, they left a residue behind. This meant my screwdrivers couldn't get a grip of them. I therefore spent a long time trying to dissolve this residue with isopropyl alcohol, scraping it away, and finally I managed to get all the screws out. Taking the half off reveals the screen, and the ribbon cable easily slides through this little slot. Another thing that is harvested from the old console are the hinges. These are notoriously difficult to get out and causes people a lot of pain. Pushing in these 4 tabs allows for the hinge to easily pop out. As you can see here, it just barely slits out. Opening the screen and pushing it with a screwdriver allows it to pop off. These hinges belong to just a certain side, so the left hinge must be in the left position in the new version as well. I therefore place it to the left to keep track of it. Again, pushing on the 4 tabs on the right one, even though a bit more difficult, eventually makes it pop out as well. Looking at the new shell, it comes with everything I need. Back cover, a label, the top half, and the bottom, with a packet of screws, stickers, covers, and everything else I would ever need. These are the covers for the hinges for the new version. I use a little knife to scrape off any residues of plastic that's sticking out, as this will make the fit a bit more difficult. Also in the package is the screen components. The top of the shell is pre-cut to fit the IPS V2 screen. The screen is a little bit bigger than the normal AGS-001 or 101 screens, so a little bit of plastic has been trimmed off. This one already has that done for me. I applied this plastic to the back of the new screen. This is just to insulate it. Here's the PCB and a connection that fits to the screen. I stick them together and carefully twist it, making sure not to damage any of the ribbon cables. The package came with this little bit of double-sided tape, which I used to stick the PCB to the back of the screen. I messed up a bit, but it's fine. It still does the job. The PCB sticks out a little bit, but luckily since the shell is pre-cut, it still fits in nicely. I'm roughly test fitting everything together, just to see that there isn't any pressure where there shouldn't be. It's time to solder on the wire that will allow us to adjust the screen brightness. I put a little bit of flux on the pad on the end of the ribbon cable. With my soldering iron, I pre-tin the pad, get out the wire that came with the package, and attach it. I make sure the connection is strong, and then clean off the residual flux with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Since this is right at the connection, I make sure everything is clean. Take the screen back out, and also make sure it fits nicely in the front, and it does. It's therefore time to peel off the protection on the front and set it in place. This foam backing overlaps a bit with the PCB, and to make sure it doesn't put unnecessary pressure on it, I cut out a little corner. I think it's now time to put the new hinges in place. I slide off the old caps and on with the new. Again, making sure the right one goes in the right, it pops in nice. And same with the left. They just barely stick out, and so I push them a little bit more, and they go all the way in. It's now time to put the screen into the back, and this is where I realized I'd done my order of operations a bit wrong. I should have done this before I soldered on the wire, because now it's just in the way. I therefore had to first put the ribbon in the normal way and twist the screen instead. It's a bit awkward, but I just made sure I didn't damage the cable, and it worked out fine. Putting on the foam and the back of the screen. To hold the screen in place just while I continue working, I put in 3 of the screws. I wasn't completely sure I was done with everything, so I didn't put all 5 in. It's now time to attach the wire to the motherboard. I pre-tin the pad named Q12B. I then measure out how much wire I need, give it a bend, and then cut it and trim it. The angle here was a bit awkward. I tried a few different strategies to hold it in place, but realized it didn't work too well, and had to go left-handed. My hand was really shaking. But after a couple of attempts, I got a fit that I was happy with and knew was secure. I again clean off residual flux with some isopropyl alcohol. I put the wire in place, put the speaker back in, and place the PCB down. I screw it back in, turn it over, and realize I got the hinge cover. Take the screws back out. The hinge cover in place. And screw it in. I put in the power switch and figured, since I first have it open, let's clean them up a bit. So I soaked them in isopropyl alcohol and moved them back and forth. I did the same with the volume switch. I also cleaned off a little bit of dust. I put in one screw just to hold it back in place, put the battery in, turn it on, and realize I don't have any sound. Everything else seems to be working fine though. The volume switch seems to work fine. I give another test, just holding the battery in place, and still no sound. I was suspecting maybe the speaker wasn't making any good connection with the motherboard, possibly because of the new wire that's in place. I therefore used a tweezer and lifted them up gently and cleaned the pad they made the connection with. However, still no volume. I therefore suspected it was the ribbon cable. I therefore carefully moved the wire out of place, disconnected it, and made sure the ribbon cable was fully in place. I moved my wire a bit more carefully to make sure it was in a good position, closed it up again, gave it another try, and we have sound. Everything was therefore finally in place. I push in the nut to hold the back cover in place. and screw everything in. I used the screws here that came with the shell, but wasn't very happy with them. They rounded very easily. So later I ended up taking these out and putting in the original screws for the old shell. I also put in the last 2 screws for the screen. And the rubber covers. I was very careful here not to scratch the plastic. Lastly, the label on the bottom. And we're done. I'm very happy with how this project turned out. Even though we had a bit of trouble in the middle, the end product looks great. The colors are crisp. And huge difference to the original AGS-001 that this used to be. We now have 10 levels of brightness. This button used to just turn the backlight on and off. And now it turns so bright my camera can't even pick it up. I ended up doing a side-by-side comparison. To the left we have our modded IPS screen, in the middle an AGS-101, and to the right a 001. For comparison, they're all running Pokemon Ruby, and we're just having a look at the brightness of the intro screen. Remember, our IPS screen used to be a 001, being the version you see on the right. The side view, you see how different it is now. The 001 and 101 completely black out, while our IPS still remains strong, vivid, and crisp. With 10 levels of brightness, whereas the 2 others only have backlight either on or off. This is what it used to be like, barely even visible. Comparing the 101 and the IPS, my camera struggles to make out how good the screen is, so trust me when I say, in real life the difference is insane. It's been a very fun little project, and I hope you enjoyed watching.